22 years back, the institute's vision was so high that might be 22 years later, the technology is going to take over and we should not be left behind. This is where we have actually moved towards over a period of time. People have gained the certificate that is knowledge, but now the wisdom to apply that knowledge is on the corners, and I 100%, I'm pretty confident that every chartered accountant is actually going to take this step forward and ensure that not only IT means income tax, IT means information technology, which is actually supporting the entire ecosystem of tax, governance, audit, accounting, and everything when you talk about with regards to the numbers across the board. And we are going to be relevant all throughout.
When AI is there, I was very much worried, and I was also very happy that such a big conference, what to speak and what not to speak. And I was thinking on this dais that whether my avatar can help me out in this situation. And friends, this is the testimony, this is the future. Whatever you are doing in your life, in your practice, in your job, all will be hit by AI. And for the 2 days, you have to note down what you are doing and what AI can do for you. With these words, thanks to all of you and happy learning. Thank you.
And moving right forward with our next technical session on the ethical considerations of AI in accounting and finance and data privacy, we have with us eminent speakers, but to first give the opening remarks for this session, I would like to invite CA Deepak Ladda, who's the chairman of SICASA of SIRC of ICAI. Can we give a great round of applause, please?
Good afternoon. It is my profound privilege to be the session chairman of this excellent session, Ethical Consideration of AI in Accounting and Financial and Data Privacy. We have speakers CA Sanjay Jasrani, founder and CEO Go North Ventures, and Mr. Sumesh Balakrishnan, founding team, CFO and Legal and Investor Relation Cognita and AI. The moderator for this session will be CA MR Vikram, the eminent chartered accountant from Hyderabad. Friends, it is my profound privilege to welcome you all to the 5th session of Ethical Consideration of AI in Accounting and Finance and Data Privacy. As we artificial intelligence into our accounting and financial practices, it is crucial to address ethical implication and ensure the protection of data privacy. As we all know, profession and ethics goes hand in hand. We are privileged to have two esteemed experts with us today who will share their insight on this vital topic. First, we have Sanjay Jasrani, founder and CEO of Go North Ventures. With his extensive experience and leading innovative ventures, Mr. Jasrani will discuss the ethical consideration of AI in accounting and finance with a particular focus on data privacy. His insights will provide us with a comprehensive understanding of how to navigate the ethical challenges posed by AI, ensuring that our practices remain transparent, fair, and secure. Following Mr. Jasrani, we will hear from Mr. Sumesh Balakrishnan, CFO and founding team member of Cognita.ai. Mr. Balakrishnan will share his expertise on the ethical consideration of AI, emphasizing the importance of data privacy in our profession. His experience in managing financial operations and developing AI solutions will offer valuable perspectives on how to balance innovations with ethical responsibility, safeguarding privacy and integrity of the data we handle. The moderator of this session will be Mr. C. M. R. Vikram, a renowned chartered accountant from Hyderabad, who is known for his ethical practice, not only in profession, but in real life as well. As chartered accountants and professionals, we commit to ethical excellence. It is our responsibility to lead by example in the ethical use of AI. We must ensure that our adoption of AI technology upholds the highest standard of data privacy and ethical conduct. This involves not only complying with legal requirement, but also proactively addressing risk and fostering a culture of ethical awareness with our organizations. Thank you for your attention. I look forward for a thought-provoking and enlightening session. Over to him.
Thank you so much, sir, for your opening remarks. And now, I would be inviting on stage our moderator for this session, CA Shri Mamiripudi Ravindra Vikram, who's a very eminent speaker. Can we give a great round of applause, please? Also, our speakers for this session, I invite Mr. Sumesh Balakrishnan, who's the founding team CFO of Legal Investor Relations at Cognida.ai. Can we have a great round of applause? And our next speaker, we have CA Sanjay Jaisrani, who's the founder and CEO of Go North Ventures. And now to welcome our speakers, I invite on stage CA Chinna Seetharami Reddy, who's the Vice Chairman of the Hyderabad branch of SIRC of ICAI. I now request, sir, to kindly welcome CA Shri M. Ravindra Vikram. I now request him to welcome Mr. Sumesh Balakrishnan. And now I request, sir, to kindly welcome CA Sanjay Jaisrani. And with that, I would now be handing over the session to our moderator, CA Shri M. R. Vikram.
Good afternoon, friends. It's a great occasion, and I'm really enthused by today afternoon's attendance and interest. I must say that about 4 decades ago, I attended a conference of chartered accountants in Madras, now Chennai. I remember the core of that discussion. It said that what will happen when the computers are installed in our offices? Will we lose our jobs? We know that in the last 4 decades, nothing of that sort has happened. And in fact, millions of jobs have been created, much more than the jobs we thought it would destroy. But what I still remember in that conference 4 decades ago, and in many of the conferences, we never discussed the ethical consequences of using a computer. We did not find any need at that point. Ethical questions have always been engaging us whenever there's a progress in technology. 4 decades later, we meet again here today at the threshold of working with AI and machine learning. What we are discussing here in the last 2 days is give you a wonderful insight into the world of AI. And I must congratulate the leadership of the Institute of Chartered Accountants to have taken this initiative. My best wishes to them. Having said that, we still ask this question: will the new machines steal our jobs? The same question was asked when at the rise of the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century. However, I noticed this time that there is some anxiety. As you would see a little later, as Elon Musk said, do we automate all jobs? Will these new machines outsmart the humans? More important, will we lose control of the society? And to what? To a soulless machine. Unlike last time, when we started working with computerization, this time we are worried about the ethics of this new rise of technology. The rise of AI seems to be transforming human relationships, computer and knowledge, and even within themselves. The new large language models, like the one that runs the ChatGPT, comes up with solutions which even the inventors did not envisage. Since its release in November 2022, ChatGPT has more than 220 million subscribers, monthly active and paying. So now what do we do? Should we be excited that the AI will introduce us to new drugs, new engineering methods, new means of writing code? Or should we be more worried about a science fiction scenario of a disaster scenario where machines outsmart humans? The question we have to ask ourselves is AI the nuclear bomb of our 21st century? The Technological progress has never been constrained by ethical considerations. The finest example is the invention of the nuclear bomb as a consequence of the fundamental theoretical advances in maths, physics, and chemistry, including the work of Max Planck and Einstein. We may not want to repeat what we have already seen, the consequences of that invention. Frankly, I don't think you should be worried about this unnecessary doomsday scenario. I would postulate only, which I will have the great pleasure of discussing with my two colleagues here, that there is an urgent need to regulate the development of AI. I will end by noticing that the keyboard of our typewriter is the QWERTY typewriter. That keyboard was, if I can use the word, invented in the year 1890 to slow the progress of the typewriter so that the mechanicals don't get jammed. Even today, we use the same keyboard. I wish that the ethical basis which we are discussing will form its firm foundation and will last its utility like the QWERTY typewriter in the next 100 years. Frankly, I am privileged to be on a panel with Sanjay and Suresh to discuss these ethical considerations. The two of them, I must assure you, are naturally intelligent and some of the finest minds in the field of chartered accountants and in the field of AI. We will, in the next half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, we will examine a few questions of the ethical considerations and the use of AI with the caveat. Ethics do not have a final right answer. It is always a matter of debate. You are welcome to disagree with any of the conclusions of my two colleagues. With that, we start this session. Thank you. Can you load the presentation? We will be, how we have, very rarely do I have the occasion to prepare for a lecture with two fine minds, and frankly, I must admit here in full transparency that this impromptu thing which you see here is a well-prepared one.
Thanks, Vikram. You've been very kind.
Yeah. The first one, ethics is about doing, ethics is about doing good and not causing unnecessary harm. Then who's doing this good? Do Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, do they know what is good? And who makes the choices of what is good? I have a small list here. Who makes these choices of what is good or what is ethical? Do we want our elected politicians to make this decision? Do we want our dictators, Xi Jinping is one, to make the decision? China has a very strong policy of ethics. Intellectuals, businessmen, and do they know enough? So this question I would like to first pose to Sanjay here. Who do you think in this scenario should be making the rules of ethics for the AI?
Yeah. Thanks, Vikram. I think it's a great question, and like Vikram mentioned, the leap in technology which we are seeing with AI is quite unprecedented in terms of the sheer scale with which humanity is going forward. I think like some of the books one reads and videos one watches from the leadership, thought leadership in AI, this is a leap which is a quantum leap which has no precedent. So my view, Vikram, would be we are in uncharted territory. We live in a world where democracy, capitalism seems to be the leader of the free world. There are other systems out there, including China and Russia, who have also had tremendous development, progress in AI. So we do have multiple systems out there. Now, why I'm citing that is that can we leave the entire ethical structure of AI as it is emerging to private enterprise completely? I don't think so. I would like to believe, and I worry about this fact, that private enterprise and the resources it has deployed in the development of AI, whether it is the hardware, the chips, the entire large learning models which are in place, where billions of dollars of capital has been invested, and the intellectual capital, if I may, Vikram, one of the points I heard from a very dear friend at IIIT Hyderabad about a year back was a trend he spoke about, where he said that a lot of research bandwidth, a lot of professors who are doing cutting edge research in AI, in the last 4 to 5 years, they have all been hired off by the large companies, Google, name it, Facebook, Amazon, all of them. And interestingly, the impact of that is research actually stands on the shoulder of previous research. Research is supposed to be commons, right? Commons knowledge. And as research is being privatized, as resources are now so disproportionate, I worry that the private enterprise and its development of AI is currently totally unbridled. I think if you look at OpenAI, the way it was formed as a company, it was a not-for-profit company when it was formed. The premise of OpenAI, which is the founder of ChatGPT, which really broke the ground on what we all know as generative AI, it was founded on a premise that this development is too important to be owned privately. It was founded on a premise that this is for the common good. But very quickly, as the product got launched, as the potential became clear that there was tremendous potential here, there was a revision in the structure there. So to sort of come back to the basic question, I believe that it is the governments and the regulators who have to actively ramp up their capacity, both intellectual and resources, to actually set certain guardrails. AI is too foundational, too revolutionary to be left to private enterprise. That's my view, Vikram. Thank you.
Thanks, Sanjay. I'm sorry I disagree with you. And
sure.
But I would like to have Sumesh's opinion on this. We are working in the finest of development of technologies has happened in a free market world, as I see it. So I would say that markets always determine what is good for everyone, and this doesn't need a regulation. He heads a startup, and I'm sure he's working in a free market. What do you think? Are markets the best bet to develop AI ethics?
Thank you. Thanks, Vikram. Good afternoon, everyone. See, you're putting me on a spot because you're asking me the question from a market's point of view, right? As Cognita, I think as an .ai company, we are born as a .ai company. I think first of all, we need to understand that all the companies that you name here are doing business for profit. That's the first part of it, right? In doing that part of it, there is also an intent part which comes in. So all the ethics, and we have all seen about how Facebook has been reprimanded, how Google CEOs have been called to the Senate, and they have been asked about the kind of content they are publishing on the social media website and all. There is a social responsibility on the corporates to ensure that what content they are otherwise putting it across, especially with these companies out there, they are for social good. And when we say social good, that's when the ethics part of it comes in. But having said so, if you look at today Facebook or at Google, they only follow the prompt clicks, the searches that we do, they actually follow us as a product. So somewhere we are also being used in some form by these companies in terms of doing their ad searches and pushing in some products in some form. So far, so good. As the only stepping stone for them or the breach that they do is when they get into the privacy part of it, when the contents of that is exploiting us as a product. I think that's what the social ethic lines are in some form dwindled upon, and they cross that limit. And these companies have already paid for that. To add to Sanjay's point, if you don't have a regulatory mechanism, who tells them that is wrong? Who tells them that is bad? Either the companies have their own social responsibility, but as corporates, if you are blinded by profit, you are blinded by stakeholder activism, and you just want to run after more top line and get to a valuation and all those stuff, and don't look at what is social good, that's what the governance principles comes in and regulatory framework come in. So first, it starts with the company, and especially in an AI world wherein it's all automated, today everything is connected, I think the responsibility starts with the company, but there has to be regulatory framework for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumesh. But having said that, let us move to the next question which I have, that do machines have ethics, and should it? Here I would like to say that, we are talking about ethical values as human values. So when we say machine has ethics, what we are trying to say is that we can write code in some way that we can attribute human values to a machine. But in this self-learning, machine learning environment, what direction it will take, we don't know. So I would ask you first to tell me, can machines have ethics, and should it have ethics?
Let me start by saying machines are programmed to be ethical. So there is no machine that is automatically created. Machines are created. In case of AI, it's a bunch of large language models which are coming through neural networks, and there's tons of data that is being pumped in the system so as the machine learns by it. So the responsibility is not on the machine, but the companies who are creating those large language models and the machines to act ethically. Having said so, today, I think from more than the machine part of it, it's the ecosystem that these machines thrive from, which is important for the machines to have the ethics. I'll give you a simple example. In Germany, they have created an ethics committee. This is more for autonomous driving and for connected cars. In February this year, they actually regulated one simple aspects to the entire algorithmic learning, which said that in case of an accident, the machine, the driverless machine, should not have an option to choose between whom to save and whom to kill. And what they were trying to say is, based on a gender, based on age, based on caste, based on creed, based on color, the machine should not have an option to save one and kill one. It should be based on the social good part of it, right? And that's what the ethics part of the machines comes in. The ethics part of the machine comes in the way the companies who are creating these models, companies like us who are using this model for entrepreneurs and corporates altogether, how are we programming those machines to do the larger part of it? And it's not that the machine by itself, I mean, we have all seen in the movies also, those who have seen Robot or Terminator, right? So we have seen how Chitty goes rogue or how the Terminator goes rogue. So it's about the way the machines gets manipulated by human mind, or in case of AI, there could be bias, there could be a part of a large amount of data that could have been corrupted. It's about the way the large language models are trained in order to give the desired outcomes. So these, and of course, privacy comes in as well. So if these factors are controlled, machine will always have ethics.
Sanjay, you are agreeing, I can see.
No, I just wanted to add a dimension here and to bring it, towards the financial world, that a lot of business decisions today, for example, in the fintech sector, if you look at credit card approvals, if you look at home loans, any form of consumer loans today, there are several large multi-billion-dollar companies which are handling thousands of applications every day, and they have algorithms in place, Vikram, as we would all agree, which are actually now programmed to take those decisions. So to your point on should machines have ethics, I think like my friend Somesh mentioned, it's really, the origin is part of how those machines have been built, right? I mean, how those algorithms have been built, what are the data sets on which those large learning models have been built. And there is an element of recursiveness to that, where the machine is actually learning more than what it has been taught. But yes, what one worries is that if there is a gentle form of bias which has been programmed at that inception stage, it is possible that the bias can get enhanced a lot by the machine and then you can blame the machine on that. So my view would be, yes, the machines should go through scrutiny periodically, as I think some of our previous speakers were saying, and that's where audit of some of the logic, audit of some of the assumptions, audit of the data and analytics of the decisions which are being taken, which can really be a part of what some of our profession can engage with, could be a very interesting part of ensuring that machines are behaving as per the ethical framework which we have introduced to Vikram. Thank you.
Vikram, Mike.
Mike.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I would like to say that we are all chartered accountants, and we have a code of ethics, right? And this code of ethics determines how we deal with each other in the profession. And we are supposed to do some things, we are not supposed to do some things, so that we can cohabit as, and that is the base of ethics. When a large number of people with a similar qualification have a base of how they should behave in a group. Now we are talking about machine ethics. Now, when we talk about if machines have ethics, are they going to collaborate with other machines which have AI and then say that, okay, as a group of these machines, we can go to these 3 laws of Asimov, and then say that as a group of this, we will obey with those 3 laws. This is a question which has been engaging me. As chartered accountants, I know that when I take an assignment, I have to make sure that I write to the previous chartered accountant and get his consent. As an AI, when I give a reply to a question, do I take the consent of another machine which has answered the same question? Do I? I don't. In that context, maybe actually machines don't have ethics.
I mean, just to add to it, because we come from that world, today that consent part of it is part of a training, Vikram. So whether it is the AI machine or whether whatever data we use it for, I mean, don't look at the large public companies who are doing for human mankind and all. At least on the enterprises side of it, all the large language models that are there today, from Mid-Journeys to the Canvas to the Saras and all of these, there is a principle and a mechanism in which the consent is taken. I mean, you can debate, for example, in OpenAI's case, Scarlett Johansson is today suing OpenAI because her voice on some of the movies have been picked up, but that's in non-enterprise sector. In the enterprise sector, there is a model in which the consent are there are enough regulatory framework. I know you have a slide on the regulatory part of it, wherein we'll touch more on that.
Yeah. The next question, which is, I'm sure, which I've mentioned in my opening speech and we all are all worried about, is that will AI destroy jobs as we know it? And are we okay with it? The champion of AI, Elon Musk, said that he wants the machines to come to a place where no job is required in this world. And do we want to go there? And do you expect that to happen? Sumesh.
I mean, this has been long written, spoken about. There have been a lot of research reports. I think World Economic Forum talks about 85 million jobs to go off in 2025. Recently, Goldman Sachs came with about 300 million jobs being taken over by 2030. My submission, Vikram, therein is that jobs would change, jobs won't go, but yes, AI is here. It's no more the past, it's no more the future. It is currently in the face of each one of us. All the businesses are getting disrupted, all the functions are getting disrupted. So people, those who are going to adopt to the AI part in their own learnings, in their own job, in their own functions, they will continue to thrive. If somebody is not going to learn what's AI and they believe that that's going to be the future, it may not come in my lifetime, I think those people would be really worried about the kind of jobs that it's been spoken about, saying that the jobs would not be taken. AI is just an enabler. We have been living that life for the last 3 years. We've been seeing it. We work with technocrats. We work with the CFOs. We have helped a lot of the so-called business users and the CFOs to get the reportings accurate, help them in analyst meetings. So it is enabling a lot of these functions to become the function more smarter, more sharper, more faster as well. I personally don't see AI systems destroying jobs. It will only create new jobs, but it will take away a lot of the existing jobs which people do not upgrade themselves. And one more reason is with all this AI coming in, there is an increased efficiency that is going to be created. There's a lot of productivity. Again, the World Economic Forum says there will be more than $16 trillion that will be added to the GDP. Now, these $16 trillion will create growth, will create new further investments, new businesses will emerge. That would mean that there will be new jobs will be created. Those new jobs won't be similar to what the jobs are today. 2 years back, a prompt engineer was not a role or a function that was ever heard of.
Correct.
Today, a prompt engineer commands as much as probably a VP of a marketing or a CFO in a Bay Area today. So these are the new jobs that would evolve. That's my opinion there.
I agree with you entirely. I mean, I have a lot of respect for our group of chartered accountants for one reason. Every year we meet in places like this to discuss developments in bank audit. Okay? And you know, Reserve Bank of India and Government of India are always very, very active. They issue new circulars and pose new challenges to us. But every year, collection of chartered accountants across the country update themselves and are able to cope with the change. If they can cope with a regulatory change like this, I'm sure that this is not a threat. But Sanjay, it's your turn now. I want to ask you this. I want to ask you, why should I worry about the consequences of AI? See, I'm able to write a book, I'm able to compose a poem, I'm able to write code without even having to worry about it. If I have to worry about the consequences, then you can say there are a billion vehicles out there, every day there is an accident. Then do we stop using cars? So what do you think? Should I worry about, because worrying about consequences is an ethical base. You should not do something if it causes harm. I would recommend that we should not use AI anymore because I am worried about the consequences. What do you say?
I strongly feel we should be worrying about the consequences, Vikram. And I'll tell you why I feel that way, right? Like I was mentioning, firstly, like you said, let me congratulate the Institute and the leadership for sort of holding this conference and giving an opportunity to all the members to expand our knowledge base. Now, the reason I would worry about the consequences, Vikram, is multiple fronts, right? So, partly, even the example you have used here, I think it's a true and present danger that the whole concept of intellectual property today is being sort of threatened, if I may use a term, right? Any creator, including a chartered accountant who's writing articles, who is opining on certain areas, right? So there is an intellectual property element which all of us are creating. And
are you suggesting we create balance sheets?
There's no comment on that, right? But where I'm coming from is that I think the whole ingestion of existing data, whether it is protected or unprotected, right, which is going to train a lot of these large learning models, and a lot of the revenueization of these AI companies and engines is based upon using some variant of existing content, a lot of which is actually IP protected, right? So whether it is voice, whether it is images, paintings by artists, whether it is articles by authors, I could ask AI to write an article which is on the style of my friend M.R. Vikram. And I respect you, I respect your eclectic view of the world, but I could get an AI which has picked up from open source your last 25 articles and build a style which is M.R. Vikram and give me that article. I just place my name there and I sort of elevate my intellectual position in the CA circle. So I would think we definitely have to be worried. Is this just a worry without a solution? No, I don't think so. I think if we have debate, if we have a lot of intelligent minds coming together, I believe that there are solutions. And one of the very senior leaders, one of the creators of what we call Gen AI. I was listening to him early days. And one of the points he mentions, very nicely so, is about currency. And he brings out the point that why don't people counterfeit currency? Today there is sophisticated printing technology which is available where you can counterfeit currency. And it's not so easy, right? But people don't counterfeit currency because there are laws which penalize counterfeiters dramatically. So the short point I want to make in the interest of time is that a small fix like every content which is generated by AI needs to carry a watermark which states that this is AI generated could actually help the world deal with fake videos, deal with intellectual copyright violations, etc. And I'm sure there's technology to bypass that also. But at least it will narrow down the violators to people who are deploying sophisticated resources. Like it or not, today, it is now democratized to an extent where anybody can do anything with anybody's content. That's the reason I worry about, Vikram. Thank you.
Like I said, if Einstein had to think about the consequences of his E equal to mc square, then it would be difficult for us to be where we are today. But then the same equation gave us the atom bomb. So consequences are serious in ethics, but I think we have to, like you rightly said, we have to learn to regulate that. Having said that, we give a certain degree of autonomy to AI systems. We ask it a question, the AI system gives an answer, and we hope that we assume that this answer is right. Now, using the results of that, suppose you take an action and you have not read it properly and you take an action, then Sumesh, I want you to think about this. Can we sue the AI system? Can I take it to jail? Can I shut it down? Because you can see, I'm referring to the incident in the Tokyo Stock Exchange where that software program Arrowhead collapsed. Who is to blame here? So I would like to know if you are attributing human values to the AI system, then human punishments must follow. Is it logical?
Yeah. I think logical, yes, but we also need to understand that to the point that I made earlier, I think AI system by itself doesn't have a legal existence. So if you look at an OpenAI, it's created, ChatGPT, it's created by OpenAI. There are companies who are making these large language models. They are getting these large language models to legal existence. But having said so, today we are now moving to a world wherein there's a lot of opaqueness, there's a lot of bias, these large language models today are increasingly impacting businesses. The way people are in the personal life and the professional life today, AI has come in so much that very soon there has to be legislations not to have legal rights against AIs, but also tell AI saying that what are they supposed to do. Some of the countries have taken leap of it. I think in India, DPDP was a start for the entire privacy law. We are still waiting for the AI legislation, which is supposed to come earlier in Feb 24. I'm hoping that in this session of Parliament, at least a draft will be tabled. Countries like US, a federal framework has not come in, but frameworks are coming in sectors like FTC and in the vehicular traffic department. Australia, Canada, some of these guys have already put in an ethical governance model out there when it says that how does the AI system behave, what are the counters that you need to follow in terms of looking at data privacy, what data can be cloned. As Cognita, one of the things that we realized earlier on to this point was the synthetic data generation Vikram. So what synthetic data does is it doesn't take any of the real data, but we have data generation models which actually creates a real-time through simulation of computers. And that actually helps in terms of avoiding some of these issues that we are seeing in terms of the legality of AI system. Again, coming back to the question that you posed in, if a driverless cars, and we have got enough examples on that, right? So whether you look at Waymo or Uber, a lot of the driverless cars have met with accidents. Do we go and sue the car or do we go and sue Uber for it? We go and sue Uber for it. Right? And there have been cases that these guys are fighting in California today, which you all understand. Forklifting machines in warehousing, including in Amazon and all. There have been a lot of accidents that's been reported. Now, these are all unmanned machines that are in these warehouses, wherein Amazon is the principal which is to take responsibility, and in the legitimacy and the legal part of it, it's Amazon which needs to answer those questions, be responsible for as a company who is creating these AI systems and machines therein. So that's the point that I would like to make.
Yeah, but Sanjay, we were discussing this yesterday, and I expect that over a period of time, we will use a machine learning AI system to detect fraud, okay? Now, I am now thinking in the context of this question, that the AI system suspects a fraud, and, or maybe determines a fraud, and it is wrong. But based on its determination, you take, as a human using that system, some consequential action. You are responsible, or the fraud detection mechanism of the AI is responsible? Who do you think is responsible here?
No, I have to be responsible, Vikram. I continue to believe that it is still the oversight layer which should have done what it should have done. So, yeah.
Okay. It's a little complicated, but we'll stop here. And
Sure. I know we have about 10 minutes to go now, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But then this is something which Sanjay was mentioning a little earlier, and this is what worries me, that the AI system itself is based on plagiarization, if I can say that.
Yeah.
Hundreds and millions of computers have data stored on them, not just stored on them, loaded onto the net. Somewhere the programmer is able to grab all the data and using complex algorithms makes sense out of the data and determines a pattern. Are we okay with a mass of plagiarization? And if that is so, when will we stop being original? How does originality come in? And there are serious risks here, because if I start depending on the AI system, then will I stop being creative? I would allege that the AI system is the biggest plagiarized technology in the world. Sumesh.
I beg to disagree on that, I'm so sorry. Because today at Cognita, we are working with a large publication, of course I can't take the name publicly, wherein we are helping them exactly solve this problem. So this is a research institute which is publishing a lot of the papers, the profs and the researchers and all. And what we are doing for them is using our Zuno platform that we have created inline. We are helping the institute to and the researchers to do two things. First, the content, whether it meets the checklist and the guidelines that's provided. Second, whether this is plagiarized or not, right? So today there are AI systems countering the AI system problem to your question therein, saying that can AI lead to a time wherein it will kill originality? So second thing is we need to understand that, we have been trying to demonize AI to some extent in form of trying to look at what AI could go wrong with. What AI could do right with is also in terms of using technology to bring it in front, saying that which one of this is copyrighted. Like Sanjay mentioned earlier, there could be white marking which could say that, okay, this is the source of the particular journal or the reports or any of these publications that's coming in. Second thing is, it is based on training the existing models. If you're not creating something new, what will the models train with? You can't be training the model with existing stuff that's already there. DALE 3 today creates images based on a stock image and an algorithm that is training the DALE 3, or for example, SARA to that extent. But if there are no new images that's been created, no new books that's written, no new movies that's been made, where would this lead to AI engine 2? It will just keep creating it, and at some point of time, the creative world cannot be static. So that's it. I personally don't think that it will kill originality. Yes, plagiarism is an issue. There are AI systems and tools available today which can check that plagiarism, and we are doing it at Cognita, so I'm confident in telling that as well.
The other issue is the intrusion of privacy. I must tell you, friends, Google knows more about you than what you know about yourself. But then there is an argument here. In a modern state, we are all products of the state and we use its resources. So we do not own ourselves. The state owns us. And so when the state owns us, they have every right to intrude into our privacy. But then if the argument is limited to the state, that's fine. But Google knows more than what the state knows. And are we comfortable with this intrusion of privacy? And what they know and what they do not know, we do not know. Doesn't that make it uncomfortable? And will this problem be much larger when the AI system comes to us?
No, I totally agree, Vikram. I think it is very, disconcerting to realize, and most of us have no idea how much of our data is already available with these companies and how they are using that data. I mean, I'm sure all of us have faced this. I could be talking to my wife about a trip, to Hawaii, for example, and in the next 10 minutes, I'll get an ad which shows me tickets to Hawaii or, accommodation available, right? But having said that, Vikram, I just want to be able to look at I'm a born optimist, so I want to look at that if there are explicit permissions which are taken and we as the users of data consciously and knowingly, provide those permissions. I would like to believe that on the flip side, the positive side of AI, even in relation to data privacy, is that there can be an amazing element of personalization which can be generated from these, large learning sort of models and generative AI. For example, in healthcare, in education, a level of personalization, if your health co-pilot, if your education co-pilot, I use that term almost as an app which we all have on the phone, personal assistant, right? If with your permission, you are able to train a system which becomes your alter ego, then the level of personalization, the level of cutting down on ambiguity, the level of specific insights which you can get, guidance which you can get, this could be a doctor you should visit, this could be a learning course which you should be taking. And I'm sure the CA, ChatGPT is also leveraging that. I think AI for the first time in history is going to allow education for young students all the way up to PhDs, etc., to be provided at a personal pace instead of a broad band where a lot of children are left behind. A lot of the testing which happens is not really fair to everybody. So that's my optimist side, which is sort of countering that, Vikram.
No, here I would like to say something. You read a lot of books. You go to a bookshop and you browse. You will be finding something which interests you, which you did not expect to be interested. That is randomization. But if you use a learning system like this, just by accident, let us say I have typed on Mughal history. Then I find that I have a continuous for the next 100 days only Mughal history coming to it. So when I use a self-learning system, my accident becomes, the system thinks my accident is my habit. And I lose the profit from randomization. So somewhere the Google and Facebook must know that I also like to be random. That's my complaint.
Very good point.
I think just one point, I know time is up, but to what Sanjay mentioned, I think here also, we should not be critiquing the technology, the intent of the company, right? From whatever Sanjay said, that's an ideal use of the technology, the personalization part of it, even AI is capable of it, it's doing it in patches. But then the issue comes in the moment we book a ticket, give a Gmail ID, the entire, whatever the hotels, the cabs, everything is available. So this is something that companies are socially responsible to the point that I earlier made, to use the technology in the right way. All these while we were not so concerned, but in case of AI, the concern is multifold because first time you have a technology which can generate and is judgmental. It creates its own judgment. It doesn't wait for us to give any inputs to it. It can learn by its own and it generates outputs by its own. So that's a concern that the entire world is now awakening to.
No, I must say that in a conversation with my wife, I said Mauritius is not a place I would like to go. And I continuously get notices on how to go to Mauritius. This, Sanjay, is a serious problem. Let us come to what we have discussed all vague. But this is a serious problem which all of us have. What happens when the AI generates an erroneous financial statement? When do we hold the system responsible? But more important, I want to know when all of us are familiar with this. We pick up the phone and there's a machine which keeps telling us, we are sorry to make you wait. What does it mean when a machine expresses regret? Is it okay when we have an erroneous financial statement and then the system says, I regret it? What is the meaning of regret in the context of ethics?
No, I don't think it works, Vikram. I feel that it always is the company or the person behind it who has to take responsibility. So I'm not yet at a stage of technology maturity where I would believe that, the machine is actually primarily responsible. It's already secondary there. Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying?
Yeah, sure. So, I've been in industry for about 2 decades. I've seen accounting systems when it was all manual to tally to ERPs. And I've seen ICAI playing a huge role in the entire governance mechanism itself. First time when SAS 70 came in, we were using ERPs, right? So at that time, it was very important for our auditors to have a SAS 70 checklist. We needed people in our team to go through CISA, DISA certifications and all. And that's where the regulatory body and the framework came in play. To your point, can we hold an AI system responsible? Never. But at the same time, with whatever we have seen over the last 2 days and the CA Chat GPT and the AI certification course that CA Institute is doing, I'm hoping that all of us would be trained in order to understand that AI system much better so that we know that AI is only going to enable in some form what are the so-called the trends are going wrong or your periods are not closed. We have offerings for a lot of the CFOs today which talks about when your period reporting in ERP is incorrect, if there are any transactions not been posted, recurring journals have not been done in previous year to this year if the trends are inaccurate. And these all can be used by that person to see, the so-called financial controllers and CFO to see if the financial information, financial statements are accurate or not. If he is not seeing it, or by any chance if he is missing some of those alerts, then you can't blame AI system for that.
No, if I can't blame the system, then who do I blame?
He's a human in the loop.
Something.
Looks like our time is up, Vikram. 4 minutes beyond.
This is another thought which I want to discuss with you, is that till about 1940s or 50s, we used to say that the balance sheets are true and correct. Then we gave a human attribute to it. We said that correct is not enough. We also have to say it is fair, right? So it's true and fair. So fairness and transparency is a judgmental human attribute, right? Can an AI machine ever be fair and transparent? Is it a desired attribute, or do we go back to the good old ways of true and correct? There's 2 parts to this question. The second part I'll come to later. But I want to ask you that an AI system, in my view, can rarely be fair. It can always be correct.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think judgment, fairness, skepticism are all sort of subjective aspects. These are something which are probably quintessentially human. Of course, the level of programming which is happening, I think that's our third bell. The level of programming which is happening, the level of sophistication in these recursive sort of algorithms, it's probably going to get them close to that, but I agree with you. It's a human trait, yeah.
We have an intelligent system telling us what the time is.
Yes, I think that's the second bell which has gone.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to go to the last, yeah.
No, the last 2 slides, I would just say this.
Yeah.
then what is the way to go forward on the AI system? Do we go on strict regulation? Do we go on light touch? Do we go on what China requires, that all AI system needs a prior review? What will India do, Sumesh? What do you think we'll be doing here?
I think India has been late on the privacy laws because GDPR is already about what, third or fourth year in existence. India came up with the DTDP legislations earlier last year, and this year, as I said earlier, there was an AI legislation draft that was supposed to be tabled. I'm sure it's on the wings. It's going to come in across because the legislations are going to be the guardrails to what we both have shared earlier in this forum, which will regulate in terms of what AI can do, what is consent, what is bias, how are large language models could be trained. So a lot of the legislations will come in, including something from ICAI also should be expected somewhere next year when a lot of these companies would be using large language models to create financial statements as well. So for auditors, it will be important to see saying that, okay, what part of the financial information can come out of AI? Can AI do a two-way processing of invoicing plus purchase order for GRN and do a direct entry into ERP? Is it something acceptable? Who looks into the case where therein some bias was there or a wrong check was processed and all? So legislation is the way. Unfortunately, as compared to European Union or even in US in some sectors or in some countries like Australia and Canada, as compared to them, India is still catching up. My hope is that probably in 6 months to this year itself somewhere, we should have a draft legislation tabled and then we can see how government plans to protect some of these interests of people in terms of the privacy laws and fairness and transparency for using AI systems.
The last question here, Sajay, because warning signals are coming here. The last question I would like to ask you is this. It's all fine, we have discussed ethics, but where do we stand as chartered accountants? Is there a huge opportunity here? Can we be in the forefront? Because people need to know what's happening inside the black box. Do we be the profession? Will we be the profession to explain what's happening inside?
No, absolutely. I would really, and that's a great question, Vikram. I believe that our profession, our members, I think historically the attest function itself is basically the gold standard of trust. I mean, have we done a great job? Maybe. I think it's been ups and downs. We have gone through a lot of challenges as a profession. But I think principally, and that's a great opportunity, that we have the historical sort of standing where we can be at the forefront of attest, of audit, of verify, certify. So there is a great opportunity here. There is a convergence of integrity, trust, and elements of technology which will have to come. But Vikram, I do believe, and thank you for asking this question, that I think as a profession, we are uniquely positioned to be at the cusp of that function. And I think there is an opportunity. Thank you.
I think that between the three of us, it's a shared belief that if there's any single profession in this country which will act towards responsible AI, that task should be given to us and we will be able to deliver. I'm sure that we will meet here 20 years from now and discuss how well we did in this job. So this is the last one. I'm just concluding that, like Sanjay said, the cornerstone of our profession is we are predictable, independent, trustworthy, and very human value of our ethics. And we should lead the standards in setting the standard in technologies. And we should lead the standards in setting the ethical issues of artificial intelligence. I'm sure the ICAI leadership, Daya and his group will work on this to put us in front of, ahead of everybody else in this country to set these ethical standards. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you so much, sir. I thank all our speakers for sharing with us their insights on the ethical considerations in AI. And now I would be requesting CAP Ravi Sankar Reddy, Chairman of the Hyderabad branch of SIRC of ICAI, to kindly come on the stage to felicitate our speakers with a memento. Can we have a great round of applause, please? I request sir to kindly felicitate CA Shri M.R. Vikram. He was the moderator of this session. Thank you so much, sir. I will now be requesting him to felicitate Mr. Sumesh Balakrishnan. And now I request him to felicitate CA Sanjay Jesrani. Thank you so much.